So, wine, cheese, and chocolate is something I've been talking about for a long time. And this is truly a passion project of mine to bring these three worlds together. I really believe that wine and cheese is made for each other. And I think wine and chocolate are great companions when it's the right pairing. There are people that disagree with me, and I just don't like those people.
I
So
agree.
I continue my march, and I've been able to work with some great people on this business to pull together this program, namely my friend Tony at the Beverly Hills Cheese Store, who really helps me make sure I know about the great cheese producers, because that's his life. 40 years running the cheese store in Beverly Hills, traveling the world to meet the top cheese producers. And he's, been able to back me up. And we intend to do some programs together in the future because he is like the Yoda on cheese. He's really, really important and knows all these guys firsthand. What I get to do in this program, and Tony, who's joining us tonight on the Zoom, actually attended this program live on Sunday, and we did that at the Four Seasons in Beverly Hills.
It was lovely. Absolutely lovely.
Thank you. There's going to be some crossover here tonight, Tony, so I hope you don't mind.
Are you kidding? Wine, cheese, and chocolate? How can I mind?
Well, what the added benefit of using Zoom is I get to use the full power of the internet, making our slideshow. I can also start doing that at the Four Seasons with that TV projector there behind us there, Tony, and I intend to, but there's some special cabling we need to acquire and some access. So we're going to work on that. So future programs we'll be able to do this in our live version as well.
Okay.
But why don't we start off with wine number one while we watch this little video. And I'll just tell you right now what wine number one is. And in the meantime, by the time this video plays, I will have a little list of the products that we're tasting tonight in the chat box for you. So just go ahead and put wine number one in your glass and enjoy. It is an Albarino, and I'll tell you all about it. And here we go.
Wisconsin. Its soil, topography, and climate combine to create the...
Oh, that doesn't work. I guess I won't be doing that work behind the scenes, because if I take it out, the slideshow gets messed up. So let's do this one step at a time. You gotta love a great video about Wisconsin.
Wisconsin. Its soil, topography, and climate combine to create the perfect terroir for producing the world's best milk. So it's no surprise that over 1,200 of the world's greatest cheesemakers call it home. Well, what'd you know? Here are 5 of the all-time greats right now. But how do they create all those award-winning masterpieces of complex flavor and texture, celebrated the world over? Let's explore the 5 steps of cheesemaking and learn how to make the greatest cheese in the world.
I'm going to pause for a second and make sure you try wine number one with cheese number one while we're watching this video.
Great cheese starts with one essential ingredient.
It's all about the milk.
The milk.
The milk.
So it's no surprise that Wisconsin, America's dairyland, is home to mind-blowing varieties of award-winning cheeses. Once the farm fresh milk arrives at Henning's Wisconsin Cheese in Kiel, Wisconsin, it's lab tested for freshness, safety, and to ensure no antibiotics are present. Then, master cheesemaker Carrie Henning has it swiftly pasteurized at 161 degrees for 15 seconds. After pasteurization, the fat content of the milk is optimized for the particular cheese it's being used to create. Cheesemakers call this step standardization. It takes about 10 pounds of milk to make 1 pound of cheese.
What might be real subtle when you're drinking the milk gets to be concentrated 10 times when we're making cheese.
It's a good thing we're in Wisconsin, where we produce the finest milk in the world. It's 2 in the morning at Edelweiss Creamery in Monticello, Wisconsin. Master cheesemaker Bruce Workman is hard at work adding a starter culture of bacteria to the milk, marking the beginning of its much anticipated transformation.
If I want a really sweet cheese, or if I want something that's a little bitter, I can make the cheese a little bitter by changing the starter cultures to it.
The culture turns the milk's lactose, or milk sugars, into lactic acid. Then Bruce's son Ben adds the enzyme rennet, kickstarting the coagulation of the milk. Coagulation is simply the thickening of milk proteins. But to a cheesemaker, it represents one of cheesemaking's most beautiful and dramatic dances.
Like a waltz.
A foxtrot, hop and lock.
Within 30 minutes to 2 hours, the milk solids have bound together to form an extraordinarily soft and pillowy mass. This, at last, is the glorious curd.
Curd is the word.
The word that I heard. Awesome.
At Carr Valley Cheese Company in Laval, Wisconsin, master cheesemaker Sid Cook and his crew are hard at work cutting the curd. The smaller the curd, the more whey is released and the harder the cheese will be. After cutting, the cheesemakers often cook the curd while draining the whey.
When we're doing the cheddaring process, we're cutting the curd by hand with knives.
Then the mats of curd are flipped and stacked over and over. Harder, drier cheeses like Parmesan are cut into smaller curds, sometimes as small as a grain of rice, while softer cheeses such as fresh mozzarella are cut into larger walnut-sized curds. At Widmer's Cheese Cellars in Theresa, Wisconsin, master cheesemaker Joe Widmer and his crew perform the thousands of years old tradition of salting and forming the cooked curd. Salt is incorporated in various ways, sprinkled directly into the curd, added to the surface of the cheese, or in the brine that some cheeses are steeped in. Salt enhances flavor, develops texture, helps to draw moisture from the cheese, and is also a natural preservative. At this stage, Wisconsin cheesemakers add other delicious things to their cheeses.
Things like herbs.
Fennec,
Caraway. Tequila.
Secret ingredients.
The harder a cheese is pressed into its form, the more whey is released and the firmer it will ultimately be. This is when a good deal of the curd knitting, the bonding of the cheese curds, occurs. With Widmer's Wisconsin brick cheese, actual bricks are used to press the cheese.
Well, brick cheese was invented in Wisconsin. When my grandfather, who was a Swiss immigrant that came over in 1905, he bought a batch of bricks. To this day, we're still using the bricks.
If a cheesemaker is crafting blue cheese, this is when they pierce it to introduce air so the mold can grow and promote interior veining. We've now arrived at Marika Gouda in Thorpe, Wisconsin, as well as at one of the most distinguishing stages in our cheesemaking story, the final step, known as finish and affinage. This is when Wisconsin cheesemakers honor a heritage of hands-on attention.
Every day we pick our wheel, we flip it, we clean it with water and vinegar, and that happens with every single cheese. So there's a lot of hand labor involved.
At this stage, the cheeses ripen in temperature and moisture-controlled aging rooms.
In the aging room, that's where all the magic happens.
Fresh cheeses are ready soon after being made, while hard cheeses can take some time to ripen. That's why aging can range from several weeks to several years.
Geduld is een schone zaak.
Throughout the aging process, cheeses such as cheddar ripen from bacteria distributed throughout, while washed rind cheeses such as Wisconsin brick are surface ripened. Cheesemakers scrub and brush these cheeses with salt, brine, molds, bacteria, or yeasts to develop complex and often pungent flavors from the outside in. Testing the milk and filling the vat, adding culture and rennet, cutting and cooking the curd, salting and forming, and finish and affinage. With these 5 steps, the best milk on the planet, and more than 150 years of tradition, Wisconsin cheesemakers craft over 600 different types and varieties of cheese. They never stop striving to imagine, create, and recreate the greatest cheese in the world.
Wow.
Highly produced.
I had no idea it was that individualized. Every step is so labor intensive.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
And when the cheeses are really good, we're talking about a pretty small amount of cheese, so it's a lot of labor for a little bit of product. I love that word affinage, and I'm going to find out how applicable that might be to the wine industry, because I'm looking for a name for my new wine I'm coming out with, and I love that. I don't know if anybody will be able to pronounce it, but I'm going to find out. But yeah, that's how cheese is made. Just it takes it through that process, and it's always about where the cows are grazing and what they're grazing on. And one amazing thing that we're going to discover today is that sometimes we make cheeses from, like a seasonal milking, whether it's spring, summer, or fall, that the type of foliage that the cows, the goats, the sheep are able to eat changes with the seasons. And sometimes we have to bring that dried herb or dried flowers or dried hay to the animal. Totally changes the way the animal processes and the resulting milk. And then what type of flowers are in their diet and how many hectares are they grazing from. So lots of little incremental factors that add up to really a big difference when it comes to making great cheese. Wine number 1, really beautiful white wine that's been a favorite of mine since the day I brought it into the store. And I'll share it with you on the slideshow now so you can see what we're tasting. Did make a couple of changes for you, Tony, so this will be fun.
Oh,
Yeah, on Sunday we tasted a really high-end, wonderful Albarino that's pure Albarino. Today we're tasting a white blend from the same area, Ria Spacious. One of my best-selling wines of all time is from a really good Rioja house that owns this teeny producer up in the Ria Spacious, also an Albarino wine, but blended with other indigenous grape varieties of the place. We'll talk about that wine a little bit more in a second. The cheese that we're tasting here in cheese number 1 is Cantabria, Spain, very nearby up in the Basque country of Spain. Tres Leches sheep milk cheese, 1 year old, with small amounts of goat and cow added. They do blend multiple milks together for consistency purposes. Sometimes the sheep milk is a little short. Sometimes there's an abundance of goat. So this here is just a really smart method of doing business. So you're not all dependent on one particular crop. And the Spanish here really promote this very aged experience with a little bit of olive oil in the mixture. So this is truly Mediterranean. It is from at the Beverly Hills Cheese Store. They number every wheel. So this was the number 7 wheel, which has spring milk, and it's grass-fed cows. A true example of how different milks can be blended to create a house style, similar to blending of wines and different varieties. Cow's milk provides the bulk of the weight, giving it a buttery quality. Sheep give it the nutty mid palate, and the goat cheese in this wine, or in this cheese, the goat milk in this cheese, adds the high acidity and the crispness on the palate.
Mm.
The wine has a really wonderful time pairing with that oily nature too. If you allowed your cheese to kind of even warm up a little bit, you'll see it start to leak some of the oils that are in the cheese. And that's really when the cheese is at its best. When it's super cold out of the refrigerator, can be a little more restrained. And as it warms up, it wakes up just like wine. So I love having my cheeses a little bit closer to room temperature. You can smell that this particular cheese has this fantastic stink that is very cheesy, very nutty, and really just perfectly aligned with the wine. And one of the most famous sayings in the wine and cheese business is what grows together goes together. So both these cheeses are from the same proximity, and both the wine and the cheese are from the same proximity. And the wine is just really magnificent. It's got a great blended approach as well. It's not pure Albarino, but also from Rias Baixas up in the northwest corner of France, and really kind of focuses on that purity. But there's some power here. There's some concentration, and the nose just keeps getting better to me. I've been so bullish about this wine, and every time I taste it, I just love it a little bit more. It's got like ocean air, grapefruit, and this wonderful cleansing acidity that just washes your palate clean. And with all that fat and butter and cream, just really a magical pairing. I love it very, very much. You ready for number 2?
Sure.
All right.
That was a great pairing. Yeah, great pairing, Ian. Delicious.
Delicious stuff, right?
Yes.
Really good. Hey, Ian, what was the vintage on that one? I see that it says 2020 and 2021. So
Yeah, it's all 21 from here. The website should be cleaned up. We probably just sold the last bottle of 2020. So it's all 21 and probably going into 22 in the very near term. But a really good producer and pretty dependable. And I actually I wrote that review in 2020, and I think I enjoyed 2021 even more. So it was really, really a powerful find for us to be able to find that and offer that out. I don't see it at any retail in Los Angeles still. So I'm just really, really happy to be carrying that wine. All right. We move into our second pairing, and let's get our PowerPoint going. All right, Tom de Muscadet. This is a washed, they wash the rind in Muscadet wine, which is from the Loire Valley. Muscadet is made from a grape variety called Melon de Bourguignon. And this cheese is 10 months old. So it's got just a little bit more time in cave, and it promotes this almost earthy, mushroomy type of crust. I am going to recommend, I know some people don't like to eat the outside of the cheese. Give this a little bit of a try, because I really love the nuttiness and the texture that it provides. And you pair this with another great Loire Valley pairing. This is Vouvray from our friends at Champollion. And I got to meet Mrs. Champollion on Monday. I flew to San Francisco for the 50th anniversary of Kermit Lynch having a store up in Berkeley. And I went because I knew all these greats in the business would be there. It was a tremendous honor to be in the room and to meet all these people and to taste their wines. It was super fun.
The cheese is beyond great.
Oh,
It is. Oh,
good, right? A little bit more aggressive. Of course, we want the flavors to be recognizably different. And this is pretty damn intense. Washed in Muscadet wine. Spring milk, again, 8 to 10 months old. Rare to have a large format cheese. I don't know what that mispronunciation is there. Let's see, go to the records per day. It looks like something got chopped into, two thoughts were chopped into there. So
Probably at least a dozen goats.
yeah, let me share with you the document that I wanted to share, but I couldn't do that during the presentation. See what's the best way to do this. The best way to do it is just to copy and paste it. So I'm going to do that now. Too long. Okay, maybe not. I save it as a doc. Let me see. Save as. Oh, I think I just figured it out. Does that open up for everybody in the chat box?
Yeah. We got that document in my box with the wines, cheese, and chocolate.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah,
Okay,
it
cool.
had the same thing. It should say least, but it didn't. It said same thing that yours said.
All right. So as the source document was bad, so apologize for that.
No worries, figured it out.
All right. We'll take this. I think this is his phone translation. This is from Tony's mouth through the phone.
Mhm.
At least a dozen goats to produce one wheel of cheese. That's what he was trying to get to. So it's a lot of goats to make one wheel of cheese.
Busy goats.
Yeah. All right. Champlot as a product, really top producer of Vouvray. And I wanted to click through and show you that on our website. Vouvray is made from a grape called Chenin Blanc. And Chenin Blanc is one of the most important grape varieties in the Loire Valley. We're going to go to my Merchant of Wine website. We're going to look at Vouvray. And here's Champlot. Coming in at $23.95. This is just a real benchmark producer. Great history, very family owned, operated, not distributed everywhere, but good quality, and everything they do is sustainably grown, sustainable in their processes, 100% Chenin, and the town is called Vouvray. Now, the problem for Vouvray in a lot of people's minds is that there are many different ways of presenting Vouvray. You can have dry like this, or off dry, or sweet, or sparkling. There are several different styles of Vouvray, and I think what some wine regions, some grape varieties make a mistake in doing is they try to be all things to all people, and then therefore they end up being almost worthless to everyone. It's just a common denominator in the wine world. And I really think that Vouvray used to be a much more recognizably great wine region, but has been watered down by too many different styles and too many different presentations. So you need to be able to trust what what is happening with the wine based on reading the label. The reputation of the producer certainly is the most important part when picking a Vouvray. I carry several. I love the variety in Vouvray, but there are a couple of different distinctions here, and I want to share with you what they are. You've got a producer like Rouet, which is ultimately probably the most important brand in Vouvray. They own the best land, and they make many different quality levels. But here they're making a Moliu, which is really a very late harvest, higher ripeness level style. And it is a beautiful expression of Vouvray, but the wine clearly says Moliu. And then we have a wine from Philippe Fourneau, which talks about being dry or sec. And that's another very good producer, really good reputation. And these are the type of wines that I like to carry. Champollion is just a benchmark, solid, small producer, nothing fancy, really good price value. And then they make a higher tier that jumps up to their 50-year-old vines and then their 80-year-old vines. And the price increases are pretty significant. Don't carry all three versions at this time, but sometime down the line, you'll see other Champolliots in the house.
The one we're drinking is the dry.
Yeah, that's correct. And it does have almost a expression that may lead you to think that there's some sweetness, but this is bone dry.
Yeah.
And it does absolutely dry itself out in the mouth. And that's one of the wonders of Chenin. It has so many different white cheese aromas already, and then that kind of oily richness in the mouth, and this really fantastic acidity that dries out and leaves your mouth really refreshed and pairs so nicely with foods like this.
Yeah, I like this one. I like dry.
Beautiful. Let's go on. And of course, at the end, we'll get some ideas of what you preferred tonight, and really maybe take a little vote and crown a champ. But some of these are like really time tested and proven pairings, like this one. We're tasting a great house in Sauternes, and in fact, it's in a little place called Barsac. Barsac is a town inside of the Sauternes region. The producer we're tasting is Chateau d'Oisy Dane. This is a very important, high quality, dependable producer. Doesn't have quite the reputation of someone, say, like Chateau Yquem, where you're going to pay several $100s for a half bottle, but it is right up there with some of the best houses in reputation. And some people really enjoy what it is that is different from a house like Yquem. This is a 2018 Barsac, and this wine is ready to drink. It is rounded, rich. It's got great sweetness and great definition. It is made from the typical grapes of Sauternes, which are Semillon and Sauvignon Blanc. There could be a little Muscadet in there as well if they wanted to, but this is just pure Semillon and Sauvignon Blanc. The estate uses only their own fruit, and it's a really important house, and a solid wine. And we're going to pair it with this beautiful blue cheese. Remember when we watched how the cheese was made video, and it talked about the curd size, and this is a large curd blue, Forme d'Ambert, and it is cow. And it is also from the same kind of area in southern western France. It's been made since the 7th century. It's rich. It's got just enough saltiness. Incredible length. The flavors just continue. And just when you put that cheese in your mouth, taste that magnificent richness, that noble rot that we get in the Sauterne. That's what makes Sauterne. They grow the Sauvignon Blanc, the Semillon, and in sometime around mid-September, it starts to rain. It gets cooler, and this coolness and the rain and the lack of wind and the lack of heat, all of a sudden you've got wet grapes in the vineyard, and this white fungus appears on the outside, and it is known as botrytis. And it lives off that moisture, and it sucks the moisture out of the grape berry. And all you get is this concentrated, elevated, aromatic from the fruit. It starts to smell more and more like apricots and white peaches.
This pairing is really dynamite. It is so good.
That's
my
what I love to hear. That honestly, I'm like, oh yeah.
Excuse me, I'm going to turn my camera off just so I can enjoy this for a minute.
I gotta tell you, the wine is so good, but this pairing doesn't work if the cheese isn't as good as it is. And I'm telling you right now that this cheese came from the cheese store, and they just got this forme d'Ambert, and it is so good when the cheese.
It's gorgeous. Oh my God.
Because I have been absolutely devastated when I went to buy this cheese and it wasn't, turned appropriately. And the way this cheese, it does not age well sitting in a moist refrigerator, and it almost starts to pick up fermentation notes.
Right.
So I told Tony, I said, I that forme d'Ambert, last time I did that cheese, it just totally broke my heart. And I didn't get it from him. I got it from the cheese importer. And he goes, it's the cheese that has a problem if it's not moved through the system efficiently. And he said, but trust me, we move through this, and this is as good as it gets. And I tasted this just now, and I'm like, damn it, that is
right.
I told you, this is the first blue cheese I've ever liked.
Yeah. You may not like blue, and it's likable. You may not like blue, and this is likable. You may not like sweet wine, and this just pulls it together. This is the wine itself is really a special wine. I'm a total advocate for dessert wines just in general, because I really believe that this is the history of wine. This is what this is the gateway for some people to liking wine. And, we've watched the world kind of turn its back on dessert wine. The dessert wine that used to be the most important wine on the planet. This is what we drank 200, 300 years ago. Sweetness like this. And as we've advanced as a society, we have watched dessert wine kind of recess back, and almost to a point where some of it's going to go extinct. The Sauterne producers are starting to make dry whites. And so Sauterne production is going to diminish. It's going to change. The land holdings are vast. And so the producers are really under a lot of pressure. They haven't been able to take price in years, and their cost versus the production is completely out of bounds. So, enjoy it. If you like dessert wine, it's a feast for you right now, because these wines should be 3 times their price. This is the same price, maybe even less than I bought this wine 20 years ago. Is that kind of tragic? So really an important part of our wine world. And just think about wines like this when you get family together for the holidays, family together for those special dinners. Throw down a dessert wine and watch how the conversation sticks, keeps the family together, because that dessert wine can do that at the table. It extend the time at the table and the pleasure at the table, and really give people something else to talk about and think about and celebrate. All right, cheese number 4.
Unfortunately, I got 2 bottles labeled 4.
Oh, interesting. Did anybody get something different? Did you get a 5 and a 6?
I got 2 4s and a 6.
I bet you, do they have a sticker on them?
Yeah, it says 4 on both.
Okay. Does everybody have the same thing, maybe? Anybody else have doubles? Taste both the wines and see if they're the same, Tony, because I doubt. I'm wondering if the sticker made it to the wrong wine, but this should be an Italian wine, and then the next one should be.
These things are impossible.
The next one's going to be that Syrah.
They're very close.
And then probably there was a mistake, and I apologize.
Yeah, that's okay.
Sheep's milk with black truffle, and we are in Sardinia for this particular cheese. Malterno. I'm going to guess it's pronouncing that. Moliterno. How's that? Moliterno. Sheep with black truffle, year-old, so aging. They basically see, you can almost see where this, let me annotate that right there. See how they come in with a needle and inject this is truffle. The truffle vein is following the curd line. So this was the curd shape that kept the truffle on the outside there. Now, this is from Sardinia, where the island is, obviously surrounded by this beautiful ocean the ocean influence in this cheese is pronounced. Also, the characteristics of Sardinia are pronounced. I haven't been to Sardinia yet, but when I taste the wines from Sardinia and I taste with many of the producers there, the way they take care of the animals, the way they forage, the land that they're foraging on, this island is so well preserved, so free of pollution. This is actually a blue zone island, and the people that live on Sardinia live longer than anyone on Earth.
Oh my goodness.
So it's really a special spot. I have a feeling it's because they eat a lot of this of good cheese, but let's see.
Cheese is wonderful. Oh.
Yeah, it's so decadent, right? It takes it up a notch. And to pair that, we went with an Italian classic, because what grows together stays together, goes together, grows together. So I wanted to find something that I really enjoyed. I wanted to find something with a little bit of an age to it. And I've got this fantastic 2017 wine from Chianti called Capogato. I love this wine. I took a huge position on this wine. It is a very expensive wine in top Italian restaurants across the country. You would probably pay, wine list prices north of, in the high 200s, maybe $300 a bottle in a top restaurant for a bottle of Capogato. It is 2017 was a more challenging vintage from a reputation standpoint. 16 was legendary good. 18 was also representing a better vintage. 17 had its issues, but at this particular house, they're so selective that the small amount of wine that they made was, I think, really, really great. And it's, with an additional year in the bottle, it's showing really beautifully. This is not a Chianti, even though it's from Tuscany and grown in the Chianti zone. This is a Bordeaux style blend, Cab Merlot, Cab Franc, and you get some great tannins, some great structure, but some wonderful complexity, spice, leather, wood, and then all those slightly mature aging smells that start to come in. I've got a little bit here to taste with you. One of those things where it has Chianti-like characteristics to it, but there's nothing in common with a Chianti here except for the place. The place just can't be knocked out of this wine. And I love the etched acidity and the persistent tannins and the way this super rich, decadent cheese really needs that to help kind of rise up and pair with it. And I love the way the kind of the Italian nuance carries from the cheese right into the wine, and the way that the finish just kind of continues to that the cheese just has this lengthy tail, and the wine just kind of connects with that tail and just pairs wonderfully. So this cheese was from wheel number 10, and 6 months of aging, rubbed with vinegar and olive oil, then injected with black truffle paste. And it's just, I oftentimes am not a fan of truffle anything. I'll take fresh truffles anytime, shave them on my eggs, put them on my pasta, put them on my pizza. But truffle oils and stuff like that just kind of, I don't know if I can do that. And it just maybe a little too much, a little too assertive. But I really love this cheese. And I tasted it with Tony, and I agreed that I think it's a really fun, and it's such a timely thing too. November, some wonderful gatherings. It's a type of cheese that you want to maybe appreciate in the winter months. It is truffle season in northern Italy, where I take people to Barolo. We go truffle hunting with the dogs, and it's a super fun activity to incorporate the truffle quest, and then to sit down and have a meal and enjoy truffles together. It really makes truffle season special. Truffles are usually optimal around this time and until the end of the year only. The black truffles are really they can crop those around the calendar all year long, but white truffles are right now in Barolo, and that's what I really, really love.
If I go to the cheese store on Saturday, what's the likelihood I'll get wheel 10 or something else?
I would be surprised if they moved through that entire wheel. I mean, it's like 12 pounds. This particular cheese is approximately $50 a pound. and all the others are in the $40 range. So this is the kind of the more exotic of them all. So I really think it's a pretty special cheese, and you can ask Tony. Tony will take care of you.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna be there. My hairdresser happens to be next door, so I'm in big trouble.
All right. Well, you know Tony already, right?
No,
No? Oh, well, this will be a good.
no,
Please go in and tell him that we talked.
okay.
He's super important to me.
I will definitely let him know.
All right. All right. Did everybody get to see this? Was I talking without showing it? Just in case I was. Make sure you get to see it. All right. All right, so we've tasted 4 cheeses, in fact, and so I went ahead and sent you 3 chocolates because I kind of promoted this as like 3 cheeses and 3 chocolates, but I couldn't eliminate one of those pairings. So I had to send an extra chocolate with your kits. Did everybody get the three chocolates?
No objections.
All right. So Tony, on Sunday, when I pulled those chocolates out of the sleeve and saw that they were only so big, though, I was like, oh my God, how are we? So it's a small piece. It is a small piece.
That's okay.
All right, but we're going to start with the Amade, and we're going to have the Amade chocolate, and you can have both of them with wine number 5. And Tony, you should jump right to number 6.
I'm gonna try both 4s. What the hell?
And why not?
Hey, they're here.
I'm Nate Hodge, the head chocolate maker and co-founder of Rocca Chocolate, and we're at our chocolate factory in Red Hook, Brooklyn. So the cacao pods are cut open, and there's a mixture of fruit surrounding the seeds of the cocoa tree. Those are scooped out and generally put into stacks so they can be taken somewhere to be fermented. So they repurpose juicer. It has a custom casing and set of blades for cracking cocoa beans. We use them for separating the shell from the nib, like this, just pure nibs. And what we want to do is start to refine this so that we can turn it into gooey, shiny, rich chocolate. These are like Indian spice grinders that are used for chai, curry. These have been repurposed for cocoa. We'll run it overnight and then we'll add sugar in the morning. This is after it's gone through the roller mill behind us. This is going to get thicker and thicker and thicker. And then eventually you'll start to see like sugar granules coming out. And then the machine will start grinding the solids. You want to recoat all the particles in fat, and you want to reshape those particles. So since it's coming through here in a really tight space, it's flattening the particles. And that's great. We want small particles, but what we also want are particles that are rounded into a pearl shape so that it rolls off your palate instead of like sticks to it. So they're going to run this through 3 times, and by the end, it's just going to be like a big knot of chocolate. So after the chocolate has been massaged and aerated, then we're going to do this, which is the process of tempering the chocolate. So it's aligning the polymorphic crystals in the fat and the solids so that they all harden at the same temperature. Cocoa bean is roughly 50% cocoa powder, 50% cocoa butter. Because we have 50% essentially of pure fat, we like to play with that fat. Hector's steeping chanterelles in cocoa butter. In the holding tank, we'll add a lot of the other flavoring, deep herbs or teas. We really want that like incredibly silky texture, and being able to flavor the butter and then add that back in, it doesn't affect the texture. So then we'll roll the racks into this box. Humidity and chocolate don't mix. So it goes in there at like a dry 55 degrees. So the chocolate bars to set perfectly. Rolled out, stacked up over here, put into these white bins. And then this is our wrapping machine. We're doing like 1,600 to 2,000 bars a day.
Oh, yes.
So what we're tasting tonight, now that we've seen how chocolate is made, is Amade. And the Rob report says that Amade is one of the best chocolate producers on the planet. They not only take all the same steps that we just watched, but they only buy the very, very best bean. And there's the cocoa market is basically they take all the beans that are harvested and then they rate these beans. The world market rates them. And based on the rating, that's where the price gets set. And Amade is willing to outbid everybody. They, of course, pass that on to the consumer with much higher prices than other chocolate producers, but they just don't have any hesitation. They know that the best chocolate comes from the best cocoa beans, and they want to dominate that end of the scale. So that's their investment. And tonight we're trying both the 70% Toscana as well as I think I sent you the Creole, which is the Peruvian 80%. What is crazy is that with Amade, you could go 90% and it's not bitter, because when you're buying the best beans and they're so evenly ripened and they're so well grown, there's no bitterness. So that's what we're picking up here. Now with chocolate, it's 70% of the cacao. So that means 30% within a percent or two is sugar. So
Wow.
this is only 30% sugar. Whereas if you were to buy a Hershey chocolate bar, it would be 8% cacao and 92% sugar. So higher tier chocolate is made with more of the expensive cacao bean. And in this situation, it's only the very best on the planet. So that's what Amade stands for. And we have this was on our last trip to Italy as we departed Tuscany and we moved up the coast. We drove through the town where Amade is located. We stopped by the factory. We were already fans, but then they took us on this great tour and tasting and showed us the bean room and their roasting process and everything. It was just really a fantastic experience. And they do so many different single origin chocolates as well. You can find Amade in a lot of very good places. And at some point in the near future, I'll have another allocation coming and I'll put it on our website. I do intend to have some Amade available on our website for the holidays. The wine that we're having with this great, rich 70% or 80% cacao chocolate is one of my favorite wines to present with chocolate is Syrah. And I every year pick a different Syrah producer to kind of show off what Syrah is capable of. This year I stayed local, Paso Robles, with a great producer. His name is Levo. And every year we have a tasting in February, and it's called the Rhone Warriors. And everybody that makes these Rhone grape varietals gets together. Well, not everybody, but my 20 producers got together this year, and we tasted with about 100 people, and the crowd of 100 each had one vote. And they all picked this wine in the room as their favorite producer. Each producer's showing 2-3 different wines, and they each had one vote, and Levo won. And this was the wine that did it for him, was their Nadamas 2020. Paso Robles was a fantastic source of 2020 wines. The fires were burning in the north, burning in the south,
Mm.
but really didn't interfere with the Paso Robles territory. They will suffer because people see 2020 and they think smoke and problems, but Paso was pretty on the edges of any smoke problems. And everything I've tasted so far from 2020, and everybody in Napa and every place else, they're like, God, if we could have picked our 2020 fruit, we would have made some of the best wine we've ever made, because 2020 was a great vintage in the vineyard, but that smoke taint just devastated things. So Paso kind of escaped that, but they won't escape the reputation of the 2020 vintage, and they'll have to prove it to people. This is a 2020 Syrah. There's no evidence of smoke taint, but there is this fantastic richness, concentration, and this texture that you get from really high-end grown fruit. You can totally smell chocolate in the nose, the coffee, some just wonderful rich blue and black fruit skins, almost chewy in my mouth, the fruit skins. These wines are really great. This wine sells for around $50, and it is in a really cool package. I'm going to show it to you. I carry now, I just got 3 more wines from him. These are all the Levo wines that I carry. And the one that we're selling right here is the Nadamas Syrah, which I do think we'll be selling out of soon enough. So I placed the order to get some others from him. And let me just see if I can go back to that screen. Yep. So we have Under the Gun, and you'll see the packaging. He's a total artist. He makes every single label. He waxes every bottle. Every wine is like 200 cases made. This is called Tearing at the Seams. This is the new one I got. This one's got a Santa Barbara appellation. He buys fruit. He does not own his own vineyards. He buys fruit from really top sources. He's worked at some great places, and he's got a lot of friends that are influencing his style. His wife is an artist. She is like the queen of specialty hats, high-end hat. I think there's a special name for like
Oh, wow.
liner. This is his 22 Tango Petite Syrah package. And if you're going to go to Paso, I'd love to introduce you to Brett, the owner. This is Please Fasten Your Seatbelts. This is his Grenache that we carry. You get good scores. They're really fairly priced because I compare these wines to much more expensive competitors. And there's a lot of $80, $90, $120 a bottle Syrah that I think these wines play in that playground. And they're all from under or around $50. So really a good producer. That's Levo, and somebody to keep on your radar, because he's still teeny, but he's absolutely coming for it. He's going to get it.
Ian, does he have a tasting room in Paso?
Yes.
Okay, because we're going down there to help friends pick olives, not this weekend, but next, and we're going to spend probably a day running around Paso.
Email me, I'll introduce you to Brett and his wife.
Okay.
The only problem is that it needs about 5 days turnaround time, because he is such a freak on growing grapes and making wine that he will ignore his emails during harvest. And so I've been trying to get him on a call for about 10 days, and his wife's like, he's
not now.
not
now. I'll send you an email, because we have about a little over a week before we're going to head down there.
Awesome.
We're down there because I'm up in San Francisco. Awesome. I do know my directions.
Good.
But from Silver Lake, so I'm a native Los
Oh,
Angelian.
awesome. I was there on Monday. I just want I went to San Francisco to rebound.
Oh, me too. Yeah. You said you were at Kermit Lynch, and yeah, we're trying. We're really working on it.
I know.
I miss LA.
The best sign I saw was this famous, what's the oldest restaurant in San Francisco called?
Oh my gosh.
Been around since the 1800s, and it was closed since with pandemic and
Yeah,
closed, and we just saw that it had opened.
it's reopened. Okay.
Just
Yeah,
reopened. That's a very positive sign for me.
it definitely is. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'll send you an email. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Sure. Hope you enjoyed that. Our number 6 pairing tonight. Really a special wine that's brand new to the marketplace is 50-year-old Tawny. Now, up until this year, Tawny was sold in 10-year, 20-year, 30-year, 40-year. And the wines that are made here, it's Portuguese wine, Portuguese grape varieties. This wine was kind of invented during the 1600s, 1700s, when the large sailing ships would travel into Portugal, drop off different goods, and take port wine to the next port. And the trade circle was just really kind of in its infancy. But to make port wine make the journey, they fortify it. They add brandy spirit to the tune where the wine is sitting at around 20% alcohol. Then they make 2 different versions of port wines. They have bottle aged. So bottle aged port wines go into bottle when the wine's 2.5 years in the wood. And they'll make a vintage, or they'll make something like a non-vintage house style, a bin 27, a 6 grape, very famous, red ruby ports. Then they'll also have a style known as tawny or wood-aged ports. And tawny is one of the wood-aged styles where they actually blend it so that it's like it's 10 or like it's 20 or like it's 30. So it's not exactly a bottle that is singularly from one harvest. It's a blend of some 25, some 35, some 20, some 40. They'll bring it together to make a batch that they call 10, 20, 30, 40. Now, in the late 60s and early 70s, there were some major issues going on in the European wine trade. Some of them weren't very positive, and the port industry kind of froze from about 67 to about 75. And there were some economic issues. There were all kinds of things that really happened in that moment. So there's a lot of port houses now. Here we are, 2023, that have this disproportionate amount of wine from that era. And maybe they calculated that they would expand it to 50. But really what happened was that the port producers just came together and say, hey, we have a lot of old wine sitting in wood. And this is a great opportunity for us to show off what port wine can do with some aging. So they submitted samples to the Portuguese government, and they came out and approved 50-year tawny as a new category. What happens, by the way, the wine for the tawny program is the same wine that was going into bottle when it was 2.5 years old, rubies, it just sat in wood for a long time and it lost a lot of its color, and it has quote unquote tawnied in the wood barrel. And so Kopp, which is one of the great producers of tawny wine, came to town about 10 days ago and did a little blending seminar with us, and we were able to blend some wine that was 60 years old, some 55, some 50, 45, 40, and we were able to see that the younger wine gave us some youth and some fruit in the nose, and the older wine gave us a lot more of that balsamic. And so it's really kind of a blended wine for that reason. It's almost like the perfume method, so that they could create one product that can go worldwide and everyone's tasting something very similar. And I love how it presents itself with that balsamic, that vanilla, the nuttiness, the almost decaying character that's 50 years sitting in wood and oxidizing, evaporating, concentrating. It takes 12 bottles of wine to make one bottle of 50-year tawny through evaporation. We're pairing it with this super cool chocolate that's made here in Los Angeles by a woman who is Swiss born and raised in the chocolate industry. She moved to Los Angeles and makes Swiss chocolate in Los Angeles. It says it right there on the side of the box. Born in Switzerland, made in Los Angeles. It's called Cocoa Swiss. And this is 62% cacao, but it's blended with Murray River Australian salt, or Murray's Australian River salt. And I love what saltiness does with tawny port. And I just think it's a real magical pairing as well. To me, tawny port doesn't even need any chocolate. I love tawny port. You can, by the way, I'm showing you a bottle, the same bottle, Tony, that we showed on Sunday. This is a half bottle, and the price that we have on our website is for a full bottle. And our price is probably as low as you're going to find in the country. This literally just came out, just arrived, and I'm able to sell it now. And the pricing was aggressive. It's the same price basically as the 40. Let me make sure. Let me see. 50-year. Oh, let me say Kopke, because I carry a number of these wines. All the Kopke wines have the painted label. It's really classic. They're famous for two wines. They're tawnies and they're white ports. And I carry both the 10-year aged white port and the fine non-vintage white port. The 40s at $239, the 50s at $249. So you get 10 years for $10. And then I got a 2007 single vintage Colheita, they call them, when it's from 1 year. So it's about 15 years old, and it's $60. And these wines are just delicious. Can't really go wrong. But if you know anyone's got to have a 50th birthday, or you're going to have just a special dinner party, here's yet another reason to think about owning some really nice tawny port. Let's say we open this for Thanksgiving. You could have it for Christmas, and then you could have it for next Thanksgiving and it won't go bad. Just keep it in the refrigerator. It's fully oxidized for 50 years. They don't top off the barrels. The barrels are like half full sitting at the winery. So this wine is fully learned to live in an oxidative environment. And one bottle will go a long way. And so I consider a portion about an ounce out of this. So you can get 25 pours for about $10 a pour out of a 50-year tawny full bottle. And that's just, to me, it's one of the great values in the wine world to be able to drink something this exotic, this extreme and beautiful. The chocolate that we're having again is called Cocoa Swiss. And we will have these as well for our holiday season on our website. How did that pairing work for you?
I'm not a lover of port, unfortunately.
You didn't change your mind.
Nope.
I tried. This is
A good try, but nope.
There's going to be a wine to change your mind. This was it.
Yeah, if you don't like this, you definitely don't like port, because
Yeah,
this was beautiful. This was a beautiful tawny. Absolutely. I'm looking through my box right now to see where the rest is. It's so great.
Yeah. Natalie, how's the temperature where you live?
Oh, it was a beautiful 62 today.
Where are you?
Nebraska.
Oh,
So
Yeah.
62 today. What is it tonight?
Oh, yeah, well, it's probably gone down. I know we've had a couple freezing nights because all my plants are now indoors, but I guess it's currently 47.
Okay.
Not too bad, but Friday will get to be 28, so it's gonna get a
Oh,
little
joy.
going into a cold spell. But
All right. Well, the good news about wine is it doesn't freeze until about 27, 28.
yeah. Well, my husband is having a fit because I've literally saved all of my shipments from the summer, and they're all coming within like this month, and he's like, how many more? How many more?
Yeah, I can imagine.
that sounds familiar.
Our store here, we had to stack boxes even on the stairways along the side. So we were walking down like a lane in the stairs because it was so hot this summer. We couldn't ship anybody since June. And so the back room's full, the upstairs office is full, the stairway's full. So boxes finally were able to enter. I think we're almost empty again as of now. So it's good news, but
We got a little bit more time, and then it'll be too cold to ship.
it's crazy how
I
fast
gotta stock up.
you gotta hit the window or else you're really in trouble.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but I really love the port and the Swiss chocolate tasting. I think that paired really well. I mean, all of the cheeses were fabulous. I am also not a huge fan of blue cheese, and I was actually finding myself loving that and the pairing as well. So they were all phenomenal tastings.
Yeah, the blue cheese won tonight, definitely.
Good. Thank you very much. So thanks again. I hope you had a good time. We'll see you next time.
Thank you very
Great,
much.
thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.